welcome back to my channel, Beautiful Minutia. If you're new here, my name is Tiffany, and today I wanted to talk about some 5-star predictions. As you probably know, if you've been here for a little while, I do quarterly 5-star prediction videos because I think it's really fun to look ahead and get excited about some of the books that I'm planning to read, and it kind of adds a little hype to some of the books because I always have like months in advance planned like buddy reads and stuff like that. Try to leave room for mood reading, so those kind of books don't end up on this list, but I always have, at least like 3 books that I'm like planned in advance. Like I'm reading this these months. So I like looking at my plans for the quarter at the beginning of the quarter and thinking, what do I think is going to be 5 stars? What am I really excited to read about? So I then film these videos quarterly and also review what were the 3 books I thought were going to be 5 stars, and were they? Okay, so let's talk about my predictions for third quarter first, and there will be timestamps, so if you want to just skip to see what I'm predicting will be 5 stars in the final quarter of the year, that's fine. So the first one that I predicted would be 5 stars is The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. This is the first in the Lycanius trilogy, and it's actually his debut novel. So I did read this during third quarter, and it was not a 5-star read for me. Unfortunately, it was still really good though. Like, I am not discouraging you from reading this. I'm not saying that it's a bad book. I talked about it in my September wrap up. So if you want to hear more in-depth thoughts there, you can, but this is a fantasy series, as I'm sure you can probably tell. And I thought that the world building and the magic system was really, really fascinating. I was so impressed with that. And I thought the plotting was really good. Like, I was hooked from the very beginning and was really interested in what's going to happen next. However, I didn't feel like the character work was there in the level that I would like to see it. Not that the characters necessarily felt like one-dimensional while I was reading them. I wasn't like, oh, these characters are terrible. But they're not very memorable. Like, even towards the end of the book, I'm like, if any of these people died, I wouldn't cry. I wouldn't be sad. I'm not attached to anybody. It was just kind of like they were there. And so because it's a debut novel, I'm continuing on with the Lycanius trilogy, and I enjoyed it enough that I do still want to read it. It was a solid 4-star book. But I'm hoping that there is deeper character development in future books, and I've actually heard even better things about his current trilogy that he's in the progress of writing. The first book is The Will of the Many. I think it's called the Hierarchy trilogy. Maybe. I can't remember for sure, but Will of the Many is the first book in that one, and I've heard better things about that than I have about Lycania, so I have a feeling that his writing is only going to continue to get better and better for me. The second book was Nathan Coulter by Wendell Berry. So Wendell Berry is an author that I've not read a ton by, but last year I read a collection of his short stories and it made it into my top 10 books of the year. So I had really, really high hopes for Nathan Coulter. This is actually also a debut novel. So it's kind of funny. I read several debut novels and had several on my 5-star prediction list. And this, unfortunately, also did not make it to a 5-star read for me. I did enjoy it though. This is also a 4-star read, but when I was reading it, it felt more like a 3.5 as I was going through, and then the ending kind of cemented it into a 4-star territory for me. And that's kind of what I was hoping that it would bring it to more of a 5-star, because when I read his short stories, I would rereading them and be like, "Oh, this is good. This is fine." And then the end would be like profound and really good and wrap it up in a like, "Oh, this is the point." And so this whole book, while we're reading about Nathan growing up, I kept wondering like, okay, is the point of this only a coming of age story? Is that it? Because some of these anecdotes are fun and some of them are not, and some of them I care about and some of them I don't. And then we get to the end and Wendell Berry did his thing, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, I like this. So it was a 4-star, and I did enjoy it. It felt like it was really meaningful. There's a lot of really great themes that you could talk about here, but it didn't reach that 5-star territory. And last, but certainly not least, is Fahrenheit 451. So I'm a Bradbury fangirly, and yet shockingly had not read this. I'd read a lot of his short stories. I have read a couple of his like full-length novels, but hadn't read this one yet. and was really, really excited about it. Planned to read it during my birthday month because I'm like, I want to read a favorite author during my birthday month. And that was a great plan because September was kind of a lackluster reading month if you watch my wrap up for that, except for this book. This knocked it out of the park. This was 10,000% a 5-star. You know how people talk about, they're like, this is a 6-star book, which I'm like, okay, that's your way of saying it's more than a 5-star, but like, shouldn't you say 5 stars for the books that absolutely wow you? Why are you saying 6-star? But a lot of times those are people where almost everything is a 5-star book. So, which is fine. A lot of people rate books kind of like based on the vibes and the feelings that they had. And so they're like, I was talking to someone that they were talking about there are levels of 5 stars for them, which is just funny. I say 5 stars for books that were just incredible, that I'm going to remember forever, that I want to reread a million times, that I would consider like a favorite of all time book and a masterpiece. And Fahrenheit 451 fits that to a T. I love a classic dystopian, of which this is one, and I felt like it did everything right, everything perfectly. I have no notes. Like, yeah, it was amazing. And it's really exciting because I have made a lot of 5-star predictions this year, and almost none of them have been 5 stars. I think maybe this is like the first one. Although I will say, Adam Bede, I think, was also a 5-star prediction. And I think I gave it like 4.5 stars because there are things I didn't love about how the ending played out. But Adam Bede is one of my favorites of the year, and I would consider it a favorite book. So like that one was close enough to a 5-star, I think. But this is like absolutely slam dunk 5-star. This is like one of my top books of the year. I know I can't say if it's number one because I haven't sat down and thought about all my thoughts and tallied them up. But like, this is a top 3 book of the year. Okay, let's dive into some 5-star predictions for the final quarter of the year. I actually only have one fictional book on here and 2 nonfiction, partly because I feel like I'm a little bit in my nonfiction era. I've been reading a lot of nonfiction and really, really enjoying it, but also Nonfiction November is coming up, and I do have some plans for that as well that I'm super excited about. So the one fictional book that I have on here is Dombey and Sons, or Dombey and Son, it's not plural, sorry, by Charles Dickens. And I don't really know much about this. I'm afraid to read the back of classics like Penguin Classics and Oxford Classics because a lot of times they spoil main plot beats that you don't find out until you're more than halfway through the book. And I'm like, I don't really want to do that. So all I need to know is that this is a Dickens. It's one of the few Dickens that I have not previously read. I only have 3 books to go until I have completed his entire catalog of novels. And so I'll have 2 more after this one. So I'm planning to read this in December, and I'm super, super excited about it because I have actually heard wonderful things about this. I don't know if I've heard anyone say that this is their favorite Dickens, but I've heard a lot of people say that it is an easily 5-star Dickens. So really, really excited about this. It's a chonker. So hopefully I finish it by the end of the quarter because it's a December plan. So there's not a lot of wiggle room there for such a big book. Like I said, the other 2 books are nonfiction. So one of them is The Place of Tides by James Rebanks. So this I'm reading for my in-person book club. Last year we read his memoir, which was Shepherd's Life, I think, talking about his time, as a shepherd and kind of a self-made, self-educated man. And then he ends up going to Oxford, I think it's Oxford. But he really taught himself in order to get there. And I really, really loved a lot of things about that book, but I felt like his writing was a little rough around the edges and that he could have used a better editor. So it was like almost 5 stars for me. Like a lot of it was really incredibly written. So The Place of Tides is about him going to meet with this woman who is kind of like one of the last people on earth who makes like, I think it's eider down pillows. It's some sort of like down pillows. And she's like one of the last people that actually does all of this by hand. And she's an older woman. And so when she passes away, she might be passing away like the last of the knowledge and the skill of being able to do this by hand rather than mechanically. And so I don't know that that's so much a topic that I'm that excited about, but I'm really excited about his writing, and I feel like he is just fantastic. So, my friend Jennifer, who actually was the one that suggested that we read The Shepherd's Life and then also suggested The Place of Tides for this year, said that this book she can see how much his writing has grown and his skill has been honed between those two books. So that makes me think that because I loved The Shepherd's Life so much and that it just had some things that bugged me enough that made it a 4-star instead of a 5-star, makes me think that The Place of Tides will be 5 stars. The other nonfiction that I have on this list is Wild Swans. So this is one that I have heard nothing but fabulous things about, and every person I've heard in the past like couple of years talk about this book, it's ended up in their top books of the year. So I find it hard to believe that it won't end up in mine also. So I feel like this has to be 5 stars. We'll see, obviously. But I think that will be. This is like an intergenerational story of these women, Chinese women. And I think it's like grandmother and mother and daughter, like their stories. I don't know if it's sequentially or if it's kind of like intermixed. I'm not exactly sure what the formatting's like on this one, but I'm planning to read this for Nonfiction November as well, and I'm really, really excited about it. Okay, so those are my 5-star predictions for this quarter, as well as some brief reviews on the books that I had hoped would be 5 stars in the third quarter. So I would love to hear from you in the comments down below if you've read any of these books. What are your thoughts? Let's chat about them. And also, I would love to know, are there books coming up on your radar that you're super excited about that you hope will be 5 stars? I know there are people who love to make 5-star prediction videos, and then there are people who hate it because they feel like if they officially say, I think this is going to be 5 stars, it automatically won't be. It's like they've hyped it too much in their mind, and I totally understand that. But maybe there's a book that's coming up that you're really excited about that you don't want to say, I think that this is going to be 5 stars. So you don't have to say that if you think it's going to mess up your expectations. But what are you excited to read? Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please hit like and also subscribe so you can continue to see more bookish content from me. And I will see you again next time.